So we're trying to get a comprehension of where we are with the reopening across the region. You're big in Saudi, you're big in the UAE and Pakistan. So give our viewers a sense of the pace of uptick in business as we go towards reopening. Good morning.
Good morning, man. It's a pleasure to be here. Look, we had a very tough March and April, and at the depth of the crisis, we were down more than 80%. But since then, as you pointed out, we have started seeing recovery since early May, and business has been growing week on week, double-digit since that time. And if you look at our business, there is a rides business, which moves people around, that saw a significant dip, and that is starting to recover. But the other part of our business, deliveries, which was a bit smaller when we entered the crisis, has become much larger, and it started seeing even more growth. So while we were down more than 80% back in March and April, we're approaching 50 to 60% below last year levels currently.
Mudassir, I mean, you've been in this business for a long time and you've led the charge and growth of Careem. I want to get a sense from you as to what extent COVID-19 is an inflection point for Careem and how the company is likely to look like. This perhaps adapted, resilient, reshaped Careem after or as we go through COVID-19?
Yeah, great question, Yusuf. Of course, the immediate impact is quite significant, and we had to make some tough calls to secure our future in order to survive and sustain the long-term growth. But this crisis has been an incredible opportunity if you really take a step back and look at the digital transformation that is happening as a result of it. And as one of the leading digital platforms in the region, we're actually quite well positioned with the changing consumer behavior that's being driven by this crisis. If you look at numbers before the crisis, the estimate is that 2% of the retail spending in our region was going through digital platforms. Now, our sense is that number is probably already shot up 4 or 5%, and it's growing rapidly. And the launch that we are doing of our super app, which is expected to be completed by the 15th of June, is positioned to help our region with this digital transformation. Through the Careem super app, starting mid-June, you'll be able to get all your daily needs on a single platform so that you don't have to venture out in the offline world for safety reasons and also for efficiency reasons. And more and more of your daily needs can be served through digital platforms.
So that super app obviously is part of keeping us close to the brand, using more of the brand. But the reality, as you try to rebalance this company, you've cut 31% of the jobs on the books at the moment. To rebalance this company, Mudassir, are you going to have to make more job cuts? And if so, where and what kind of scale?
Yeah, so Manis, if you're running a business like Careem that has a very exciting future long term, you don't want to shake the organization multiple times with these difficult decisions. So when we looked at this decision, we basically asked ourselves, what's the most conservative projection that we can make on the basis of which we should decide how much to cut? So the projection that we made was that our business doesn't recover fully until late next year. And that projection is already looking conservative based on the recovery that we're seeing. And based on that projection, we believe we have done everything that was required to secure the business and position it well to go after the long-term opportunity. And the long-term opportunity in the region of digital platforms is incredibly large. As we have discussed maybe elsewhere, there is $1.8 trillion of consumer spend that will start moving from offline to online. And we are one of the leading digital platforms that has the customer engagement, that knows how to build scalable technology, that already has multiple services and more are coming that are catering to those daily needs, and more needs can be served through these platforms. So it was important for us to make some tough calls in order for us to secure ourselves and position us in a strong place to pursue that long-term bright future that we see both for Careem and for the region going forward.
Mudassir, as Careem gets integrated into Uber after the landmark deal that closed in January, does that mean the Careem brand begins to fade? I mean, I still have both apps, and I'm not sure that's really necessary.
Yeah. Yeah, very soon, Yusuf, if you haven't updated the Careem app, you should, and you will see that the apps are looking very, very different because the opportunity sets that are being pursued are radically different going forward. We were a ride-hailing business as we entered the crisis. We are emerging as the region's everyday super app, and already on the Careem app, you can, of course, get rides both on taxis and limos. You can order food. You can order groceries, you can order pharmacies, you can pay your utility bills, you can send money to Manus when you go out for dinner together and need to get money from each other. Already these things are available on the Careem Super app, and more things will change over time.
He always promises to send me the money, but he never does. By the way, we're a strong supporter of the business and have been throughout this crisis in terms of riding to work every morning at 5 a.m. We are part of the support mechanism of these businesses. And we're grateful for that. I just want to say that on behalf of both of us, to you and to the business people who bring us to work every single day. One other thing, you said you've got to make some tough decisions. Credit lines and capital. Have you drawn credit lines down to get through, and are you prepared to raise capital?
We haven't had to draw any capital lines or even raise capital. As you know, we are part of the Uber Group. The Uber Group is in a very strong financial position. So they have been our supporters. They're excited about the future super app vision of Careem, and they have fully committed to us to fund that vision to realization. So we haven't had to take those measures, and in fact, we're increasing the scope of Careem to do more and more with that backing behind us.
Mudassir, you've got a wide footprint, South Asia, Middle East, and North Africa as well. Where would you say at the moment is a bright spot, a market where you can say, you know what, a lot of potential here, and there's a lot more to come?
It's a good question, Yusuf. Markets are, of course, quite different, as you appreciate. There is Gulf, which has a certain dynamic and a certain way of a certain development status, and then there is sort of the emerging region, right, which includes countries like Pakistan and Egypt. And if you look at digital transformation, yes, some countries in the region might be a little bit ahead. They have non-cash payment options. They have higher internet penetration. But frankly, for the most part, the region is quite far behind. The region is, as I said, single-digit retail spend goes through digital platforms. And we know that, you know, in most of the countries in the region, except for maybe places like UAE and to some extent Saudi, the offline experiences are not ideal, right? You go to the offline world to do a transaction, it ends up creating a lot of friction, it's inefficient, it's unreliable. So we actually believe that the digital transformation of the region, the growth of these digital platforms is a secular trend that will only accelerate through this crisis. And the opportunity is quite broad and quite deep.